would say a few things, but number one, be patient with yourself.
Nice.
Just give yourself the time for your body to adapt to the new stimulus in your head.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Outring Tinnitus podcast. I know these circumstances under which we all live at the moment, and I don't only mean pasta and toilet paper shortage, but a global pandemic virus going around, and we all have to be very careful to stay at home, not infect other people, not get ourselves infected in order to be protective of the people who might have more severe complications of the virus. I myself and my wife Stefania drove up to Berlin again from the south of Germany, Freiburg, on Sunday. As you might remember, we were there for some family reasons, and my mom had to get a surgery, which in the end all turned out fine and well, luckily. Anyways, and now I'm back here in Berlin, starting the podcast and all the things that I haven't been able to get around to. And today I would like to present you all with an episode that I am really, really happy to share now, because I've been planning this for a long time, and finally we both found a time to be doing this. And today I want to present you Martina Koeva from Chicago. She is the first person I have ever been coaching in my tinnitus coaching business, and she talks about how you can get better with the life with tinnitus, and how the tinnitus coaching that we did together helped her, but also many other things that she developed in her process and in her life with tinnitus over the last 2-3 years. After the intro, we're jumping right into the podcast with Martina today. So thanks for being here, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Outring Tinnitus podcast. This is Frieder and I'm your host. This podcast is all about how you can outring your tinnitus and live a better life despite the ringing. All right, then I would like to announce today on Monday, it's already 8 p.m. here, but we have today Martinas on the Outring Tinnitus podcast, and she is 7 hours behind in Chicago, right?
Correct.
Yeah, thanks very much, Martina, for being on. You're on this podcast now because you are one of the first people that I coached when I started my tinnitus coaching business. And thanks very much for being on here today. And maybe you want to start sharing your story of tinnitus, and for the people out there, so they can learn something about what your way with tinnitus was.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So tinnitus, or tinnitus as we
Right.
would call it in America, it's interchangeable. So for me, it started, I would say probably 2.5 years ago, but it was very, very, I would say on the mild side. And the way it did, long story short, is I was just driving in my car, and then my left ear just kind of like went deaf. It was really weird. I couldn't hear out of it very well. And I was on my way to hang out with some friends, and I was even making a joke like, oh guys, make sure you talk to me in the other ear, because for some reason my left one's not working so well. It's just, you think it's like maybe you caught a cold or something, nothing crazy. So down the line, I actually found out that's called sensory neural hearing loss, what I had, but fortunately it went away within 24 hours. So it went away, but what did stay is this little noise that I heard at night. So only in the left ear, and it was interesting because I could make it go away if I clenched my jaw a little bit, not clenched it, but pushed on it, or moved my neck. But, I could only hear it at night. It didn't bother me at all. I just carried on with my life.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. And I was probably, 22 at the time?
Okay.
23 maybe? I'm 25 right now. So something around 22. Anyway, so, I'm obviously going out, being social. I do go to loud places, not every weekend, but frequently enough. Um, Fast forward exactly a year later, I remember I was going through something difficult in my life, and they say like stress is the silent killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess in a way I was so stressed out that I guess it like unleashed the tinnitus. It
Mm,
unlocked
mm,
what was brewing in there. So my left ear that has been just making this tiny little noise just went like full blown
mm.
hissing, like, and it was so bizarre. You're kind of like, oh, what is that noise? That's very common for tinnitus sufferers to say. Like, you kind of look for it for a few days, you don't know where it's coming from, and then you
Yeah.
realize it's coming from your head and you're like, oh snap.
Yeah.
um so that's when, like, all hell broke loose. I was just, oh my goodness. I was then, being in grad school, going to lectures, I was like, I couldn't sleep. I
Yeah.
couldn't I couldn't think about anything else but the noise. Like, it was almost like I don't know how to describe it, like, it
Yeah.
was the focus of my universe. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but it was,
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't tune it out. I couldn't read anything. I would sit in the lecture hall and the teacher would be talking, and all I would hear is the buzzing in my head. And it's something that you think is so small and insignificant, but it like
Yeah.
freaks you out.
Yeah.
My whole system was like overrun and stimulated, and I just couldn't tune it out. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start looking for help. Like, this is getting really out of hand.
Yeah.
I went down like the doctor path, and everybody's like, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. You just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
Classic ENT
Yeah.
lingo when it comes to tinnitus. We've all heard it. And then I started looking online for support for people who do have it and have learned to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um, and the first mistake I made, which evidently led me in the right direction, but is I went on those forums.
Yeah. I remember that.
Um, that's what I did first,
Mm.
and it was a scary place.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just people who have had it for years and continue to go on the forum. Like, if you have it for years and you're still going on the forum, you
Yeah.
will never get over it.
Yeah.
That is not how you move on for something.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to look somewhere else, I guess, and then somehow I think on Instagram, I think it was Instagram, I ran across a picture or something
Yeah.
of a picture with the tinnitus hashtag on it.
Yeah.
And, I went on your page, and it was like, it just kind of seemed friendly and welcoming, I guess. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just message this person and see what comes out of
Mhm.
it. And I just kind of said something along the lines of, hey, um, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's how it happened. I was like, hey, my name is Martina. I'm do you have tinnitus? Because
Yeah.
I have it, and honestly, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to deal with it. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And you answered me, and you were so nice, and you were like, hey, listen, it's okay. uh
Yeah.
I will. And then you just kind of said, if you need to talk, let's talk. And then we talked, and then that's kind of where, like, that little sense of hope came back for me, is after talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Actually, I was trying to right now go up my Instagram feed, but I think, like, actually now realizing how much we also wrote on Instagram. I'm like scrolling through these messages. I don't think I'll get to the first one now, but um yeah, actually I think this is pretty much how it started, and I remember it as well. And so I keep on telling people as well, please, one of the first things, like, Google it, inform yourself on a scientific base on what this tinnitus thing actually is and what you're dealing with, so that you sort of like take some of the, like, anxiety away, to just know that it's like the 90%, 99% of all of the cases, not a dangerous condition, right? Because you have no underlying medical condition in many cases, apart from, yeah,
Most
hearing loss.
cases, yeah, most
Yeah, of
cases.
course. Yeah, yeah, of course, you're right. There are other cases, and there's dangerous cases, but yeah, in most cases, not tinnitus is not a dangerous condition itself. Um, but when you see these people or you read what they read, and I think I remember you told me that people in there also contemplate suicide,
Oh my
and
goodness, that
when I
was
when I hear that, I'm like, yo, people need professional help. That's not even a tinnitus coach matter
mm-hmm,
anymore. That's like a
correct.
full-on psychoanalysis, or yeah, or like even already clinical treatment. Like these people need real help. Like that's, and if you start suffering from tinnitus and then you go onto these forums and you see what's in there, like, ooh, gosh, that's not a good place to start.
Yeah, and it's like the forums are such a paradox because
Yeah,
they're called
yeah,
support forums.
yeah, yeah,
You go there and it's full of helpless people,
yeah,
hopeless people
yeah. Who've
who
given up?
just feed each other's fear
Yeah,
and hopelessness.
yeah.
And it's not helping anybody.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and I was like super excited and happy because I mean, we met, but and I instantly also had the feeling that I could really help you somehow, like moving forward step by step and like slowly. I mean, yes, slowly, and I realized and I remember that for a long time you really weren't well, but I always had the feeling that you like, and that's the gratifying part about like my job, and like
Mm-hmm.
I sort of call it job, but I really like it. So it's my sort of also a job and passion, but like the gratification that I got out of it, that I felt like I think she's going somewhere. And I think like every day or every time we had talked, that I could feel and I could see a little spark, and I could like
Yeah.
I could pursue that and see that you were like, okay, like sometimes she's going back to not sleeping that well, or telling me of how she could only focus on it, or that you like sort of like closed your ear on purpose to listen to the sound, and then got more upset again, which we all do. We all did, and we all do.
Honestly,
Um,
I still do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I sometimes also do it. Like this morning, I realized when we came back from my mom's place yesterday, and we we're sleeping here in the bed in Berlin again, and like so now with the corona stuff, like there's no planes taking off anymore. So in the morning today, it was so quiet for the first
Mm-hmm.
time in a long while. My tinnitus was like twice the noise, and I was like, wow, this is
Because it's so quiet. Yeah.
yeah, it's so quiet. It's unusually loud, but I was like, it's even a good thing, because I was alerted to the fact that it's really quiet.
It's
And I
like a
still
little
enjoy quiet. I
fear.
enjoy quiet. I like quiet. Although yes, it can seem a bit more like wow and crazy how intense the tinnitus is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you feel now? Do you want to like how were the last? Actually, we haven't done this before, and maybe I wanted to, yeah, but you know how life goes, and now it's the time that we're already recording this episode. But I'm asking you how are you basically a bit over a year from then?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to squeeze in the whole process,
Yeah,
to
sure.
squeeze in what happened within
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah,
year. Because, like I went probably like 6 or 7 months without sleeping.
yeah, yeah.
That
I remember.
was very, very difficult. It was,
Yeah,
I mean, like I would take finals and do all these things without sleeping, like
yeah,
sleeping at all, and honestly, it proved to me how much we can do
yeah,
when we have no other choice.
yeah,
Um, so that kind of once I saw, hey, you're not sleeping, you're super freaked out over this, you can't focus, you know, I guess I should mention that I study occupational therapy, which is it helps people who have different conditions be able to live their life independently again, or as independently as they can. So part of what I learn to help other people is how to adapt to things you can't change.
yeah,
So for a second, as I'm doing my homework, I was like, you know what, this is the lesson. It's not in the textbook, it's in my life right now. How am I going to adapt to this thing that's literally driving me crazy? And it drives a lot of people who have this condition crazy.
yeah,
So to cope, I mean, I did I started with obviously looking for support, so I found you.
Yeah.
um, I I started adapting my environment. I started listening to the different
Mm.
noises when I sleep, like a
Yeah.
sound machine. I got a sound machine, and it's some noises that help. So some of them are really annoying to me. Some of them don't cover your tinnitus,
I
right?
know. I
So
know.
you
I know.
have to find like that right one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I listen to rain sounds, and I used to listen to rain sounds, have a humidifier humming next to me, and
Mm.
listen to the TV at the same time. That was the only way I could sleep. And mind you, I was the type of person that could only sleep in complete silence. So it
Yeah, I
was
remember. I remember that you told me like I need absolute quiet and
absolute.
dark and like there's
Yeah.
nothing around me. And I was like, whoa, I couldn't sleep like that. But wow.
And
Yeah.
it was just,
Yeah.
the change was so overwhelming. But you know
Mm.
what? Like I started getting used to sleeping in the noisy environment.
Mm.
And I thought I could never, I grieved the loss of silence for so long. And I
Mm.
still do, honestly. I still wish I could sit in a silent room and be like, but anyway, that's besides the point.
Right.
So then eventually I started turning off the TV. And then eventually I started turning off the humidifier, and I put it away. I don't even need it anymore. And then
Yeah.
eventually I turned down my sound machine. And to be honest, now I just like sleeping to the rain sounds.
Yeah.
They're there. If I have to sleep without them, maybe it'll be a little bit harder to fall asleep, but I could probably sleep in silence again. I just don't prefer it anymore. And if I have the option to turn on my sound machine, why wouldn't I? Why would I sit there and struggle?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
In terms of studying, and also all those strategies you gave me, what to do, how to wind down before sleep,
Yeah.
all of that was in my mind when I was trying to figure out this new routine of everything, how to deal with this
Yeah.
noise, I guess.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of studying, I started going to Starbucks and like Dunkin' Donuts here, and just studying somewhere where it was louder. And again, before I had to study in a completely silent environment. So
Mm.
that was a
Mm.
big change. I would go to
Mm.
the library and study there, and people would say like, "Oh, well, isn't the library really quiet?" You think that it's quiet, but if you're sitting in like right below a vent, it makes just enough noise to distract me from what I'm hearing in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
That
Yeah.
was my way of coping.
Yeah.
In class, I sat where I sat during my lecture was right by the door, I
Mm-hmm.
want to say, and there was a little bit of like noise around there, so it was
Mm.
distracting me from the noise a little bit when it could. But the moment you close the door, it's like all I could hear is my head again. But whatever, I just tried to listen to the teacher, did my best to concentrate. Um, and
I think that's very powerful. I think that's a very like, especially that part. Sorry that I like just come to interrupt, but I think it's a super super nice sort of a description of how you sort of empowered yourself to find your own individual way. And that's what I like to like support in the people that I coach. Like I can't go this
Mhm.
way for you. Like I cannot go this way for you. And if someone says they can, in my opinion, they're wrong and they're gurus and they're claiming things that are not possible, because trust me, there's enough people who have tried for so long to sort of get rid of it. But
Yeah.
the only thing that I can do is I can coach and support you to find your own individual path. And what you described is amazing. So like in every situation, you try to find the most and best accommodating alternative. So you sit a bit closer to the door. At first, you have several different sounds. Obviously, in your case, it was also relatively severe, right? Like the amount of things that you needed in order to be able to go
Oh
to
yeah.
sleep again, like medical support and also like sound machines and whatnot, everything,
Mhm.
like everything together. But I mean, a lot of people have been there. And the most important thing is, and I think this is what I always like, again, like to do is like that I like try to pursue the spark in the person that I see. Like, and I think I remember saying like, Martina, like, look at you. You've done this one little baby step, and like, tell me that you were not that there's at not least 1% inside you that believes that you're going to get better. And I remember very clearly that you said to me, like, I'm done, I'm destroyed, I'm really, really done with all of this, I'm really over it. But you're right, like, I do believe that there is the opportunity for change and that it is going to be different again. And that's the most important things. These people in the forums, they might be gone, like, we can't do anything anymore. If you have 10 years suicidal thoughts for every day, you're not going to change that one day later. Never. But like, if there is like at least a teeny tiny 1% inside that person that believes in, like, that person in you being able to take your own destiny in your hands and do whatever it takes to get a bit better day by day, sometimes get worse again, but to get a bit better and to take all the help that you can get and then build the life that you sort of want for your, or think that is good for yourself despite like having tinnitus. And I think that's a very powerful story. And I think that many people can learn from the story that you share.
Thanks. Yeah. That means a lot to hear. Yeah, I mean, right now in terms of how I'm doing, you asked and I kind of digress.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it bothers me, but it's whatever. That's how I would describe it. It's there all the time, but I'm 100% functional. And I notice that when I'm going to clinicals, for example, in the hospital, and I'm working with my patients, or when I'm studying, you know, despite this whole thing and how devastated I was succeeding. And that told me a lot about what we're capable of. Just not me personally, but, you know, if you choose to work on getting better and get the support you need, and just don't like wallow in your pity all the time. Don't surround yourself with people who bring you down, I guess. And then you just kind of like your central nervous system kind of just like calms down. Like, I hear it like every night when I go to sleep. It's there, full blown. But I'm not scared of it. And I guess I should have added at some point that my right ear started ringing too. I don't know, like 8 months ago, and it's totally a different noise, high pitched ringing. So I have a whole symphony going on in my head all the time. And, you know, for people who meet me now, they have no idea, and I don't need to tell them. But before, I felt like I had to tell everyone, because I was thinking like, oh my God, these people are going to think why am I so anxious all the time? And like, why am I so like, oh my God, it's too quiet here. And I don't know. I thought if I told people, it would just be better. And like, for example, I told all my classmates and they were so understanding. It was unbelievable. Like they would all, when we did group studies, they always wanted to go somewhere where it was, you know, comfortable for me. And my teachers were awesome. And I don't know, and also as occupational therapists, like, why would I not tell my teachers? You know, they like, I was like, Martina, use your resources. Like, these people deal with all kinds of conditions all the time. Not deal, I would say, like, work with. So tell them. And they were so understanding and so awesome. And they said that if I ever need to go take an exam in a separate room and they play music, I could do that. And which I didn't. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try my best to just be normal, I guess. Which I shouldn't have. I should have gotten the support that I needed, but it just worked out. It worked out, regardless. So
I think
I'm doing better.
Awesome, great. And I think that's the biggest sort of like success story that you can share. Is it's, you know, like, it's also something that I don't want to promise on my website or in my services or anything like that. You know, I don't want to say, look at Martina, like, she comes onto my podcast and after we had a couple of months of work together, she's perfectly fine now and she's at 100% and she's jumping around and her life is more awesome than ever before. No, you know, sometimes it's just okay to be functional again. And that, you know, like, it's going a long way from not sleeping 6 months to being functional. And, you know, in this case, I have to give kudos to you again, Martina. It's like, absolutely mental what you did in that time, like not sleeping, being so, because I always say it's subjective, if tinnitus is even like super, like, not intense at all, but a person goes mental about it, then this
Oh
is
yeah.
really bad for the person, but you had two sounds in the head, and you couldn't sleep, and you would still go to work, and you would still do your exams, and you would still get good grades, I think I remember, on them. And I was like, wow, that, like, if someone can be proud of what they accomplished in this time, like, it can be Martina. And I think, on what I would hope and what I think that is that of how much, like, however difficult this time was now, that you realize how much you are really capable of doing in life, like
Mm-hmm.
how strong you actually are, and
Yeah.
how bad
And
shit can
again,
get,
like
and you
I
can still
want
deal with
to
it.
just emphasize that it's not just me. I think anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Anybody, but the most important part is to look for support.
Yeah.
That is the foundation of getting better. And honestly, I don't know. I feel like may still be struggling if I didn't find you in the beginning, because you kind of told me the right things that I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And there's people who had tinnitus that I spoke to who had it for years, who somehow
Mm.
ended up making me feel worse
Yeah. Yeah.
when they were living fine with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
finding the right person to help you. And it also, like, the same thing goes with psychologists. Like,
Yeah.
when people go to see a psychologist for any reason whatsoever, it doesn't have to be tinnitus, it could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go once and they're like, oh, I didn't like it. Well, you should try another therapist. Like, that person has to be like your best friend. You should be able to have an open relationship with them and tell them whatever. It's the rapport between you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that rapport is very important. So you just had to kind of keep trying. And I was honest with you, I tried talking to other people, but nobody helped the way you did, which was awesome.
And I have to add, like, to that, I think I also have clients that I don't have as much success with as with you, because maybe from the start they see something different in me, or they have too high expectations on what I can actually do, and that I'm not able to get rid of that tinnitus. Like, I don't have a magic pill, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just trying to be plain honest. I don't have a magic pill for you to swallow and then you're going to get better with your tinnitus, but it takes some work, and I'm coaching people along the process in the same way as, like, no fitness coach can shred your abs in one day. Like, he doesn't give you a pill for you to be completely six-pack vibe in 2 or 3 days. Like, that's not going to happen. The guy's going to put you through really huff and tough work until you get where your goals are set at, and be that weighing 150 kilos and wanting to lose 50, or being you just wanting to get ripped for summer for some ludicrous reason. I'm married now,
For
so I don't have to
sure.
do that stuff anymore. So just a joke. But yeah, it's the same thing, sort of, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you got to work for your success, and you got to, like, sort of plan it, and you can plan it with the right person, and then you can work on it. But I must say, it was really, really, really gratifying also to work with you, because I saw progress in there, and it was actually, like, that's why I wanted to for you to share your story, because you were sort of like my first case that sort of hooked me on this work, and sort of,
You're
yeah.
case zero, or patient zero, or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
basically, yes. And but also the person that sort of, like, made it like such a like positive experience for me to share the stuff, the strategies, and only, like, also, a coach is not ever anyone who just tells you do A, B, C, but is like, hey, maybe we try A. And then a few days later, we check in on each other, and we're like, how did A work? Did A work, or didn't it
Yep.
work? Or maybe you could try B or C. And then we see how that goes. And then maybe we have to reiterate. Maybe there's going to be fallback, but, like, that the other person is there to try to go through trial and error together, and then for you to find your way through this mess. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, because I've been exactly in that position where you were at the start, and I felt exactly the same. I must say, I was not as sleepless for as long as you were, but I was also, like, I was constantly tormented by that. Like, my podcast listeners and people who have been to my website and everything, they know that. But I was in the same position, and I was like, yo, that I didn't even see these lucky and unlucky, or no, luckily I didn't see these like absolutely horrifying tinnitus forms online yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going through that as well, and at some point I was like, yo, I wish there would have been someone there says like giving me unconditional, or not unconditional, but like real support and committing to helping me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's very important, and it's like I saw you as a friend more than a coach, because
Yeah.
that's how I felt when you were helping me. I
Yeah.
don't know, I just thought you really cared, um,
Yeah.
and I think that was a big benefit, or something that really facilitated the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, awesome, great. So then, in a nutshell, to say like you are sort of continuing with your life, for being sleepless completely. How many hours of sleep do you get per night at the moment, more or less?
Oh, well, now I could sleep as much as I want.
Really?
So,
Oh wow!
yeah. Sleep is my
Congrats!
favorite thing to do. So,
Wow.
which it's a treat. Sleeping is a treat. I don't
Yeah.
get to do a lot of it now, that because of this whole quarantine stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And I mean, I just want to add that when I started doing my clinical at a hospital here, I worked at inpatient rehab. So I saw
Mm.
all these conditions and all these incurable conditions,
Yeah.
and worked with patients who you know, they just knew, like, one day you have, like, all of a sudden you wake up with a stroke, for example, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it just put things into perspective, how, you know what, I don't mean to like compare myself to others, but if they can have a great attitude and deal with what they have,
Yeah.
why can't we, even though our condition is completely different?
Yeah.
um and you can't compare conditions, but you can compare attitude to if you work to get better, you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just very important to
Yeah.
work on yourself when you're
Yeah.
suffering.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and pity, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, and this is what I have to say is like, first you have to acknowledge the suffering. That's the very first
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
many people don't do that, you know. They get stuck in negotiating. I remember that you asked me whether I I remember that, and I hope it's okay that I'd say that, but I remember that you said to me, like, do you think my tinnitus is worse than yours? Because I basically have it on both ears. And I mean, I know you're deaf on one ear and you're hard of hearing on the other one, but maybe mine's worse because my sounds are different on the two ears, and it's just really bothering me. And maybe it's worse than yours, or maybe that's why I can't sort of get used to it and you could, you know. You remember that? And
Yeah.
and I think that's a perfectly normal behavior. But people, for example, in the forum, they get stuck in this negotiating and suffering phase, and other people with chronic conditions can get stuck there as well. You know, like the person who gets stuck because they had an accident that could have been prevented because they did something that wasn't, yeah, smart, or, you know, and they sort of like get stuck in this negotiating phase, and they sort of are not ready to move on to the next phase. And I think you, after a while, were ready to move on, and that's what made your success, because you decided to
Yeah.
move on. You were like,
Yeah.
okay, I see some small improvements, or I see at least that I have the will to go somewhere. And as long as you have the will to go somewhere, to move, then you also change that attitude. And I remember, I think I said, like, you know, it might be that your tinnitus is worse for you subjectively than mine is. But certainly at the time, because at the time, like, my tinnitus doesn't bother me for a long time anymore, although it's very intense. But, you know, we can never compare our subjective feelings of this
Mm-hmm.
tinnitus conditions to that of another person. Although my tinnitus in loudness and decibels might be much louder than the other person, the other person might has such an individual history, you know, childhood, upbringing, surroundings, how they perceive the world. You know, we're all individuals seeing the
There's
world through
sensory
our own
defensiveness
lens.
to things,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
100%. And that defines on how subjectively sort of bad the tinnitus is on a 0 to 10 scale. And I think that's the most important denominator. It's not about decibel levels or anything like that. It's about how bad it is for yourself. And that's what matters.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. So great. Yeah. Awesome. Then I would say that we have a nice and a crisp episode with you here, Martina, recorded today on Monday, the 6th of April, 2020 already. And I'm super happy that we got to do this, and that we shared some of your story, and what is some of the advice that you would give from sort of you as someone who has done this, gone through this like roughly a year ago, to someone who is like in a phase that you were pretty much exactly 1 year ago. Apart from the fact that get help and look for your own way, is there anything that you could say like, this has helped me as well and that can maybe help other people as well? Or do you say it's very individual and people need to just like see and see what works for them?
I would say a few things, but number one, be patient with yourself.
Nice.
Just give yourself the time for your body to adapt to the new stimulus in your head.
Yeah.
Give yourself time. Number two, we talked about get help from people, look for support. Find the right people. Number three, empower yourself by doing the things you think you could never do again. Like, for example, I thought I couldn't get on a plane again, or I couldn't go out to a loud place again, or I couldn't do this. Get some earplugs. Try it. See what happens. Most likely you'll be fine, and that will just empower you again, that you have more control over the situation. And just be accountable for yourself, and take it easy. Honestly, just
nice.
Be proud of how far you can, how much you can do in your life without even knowing you can.
Yeah. Wow. Very powerful. I think those are 3 incredible, powerful tips. And I'm already getting excited about the fact that I can release this, and that people will like literally benefit from the half an hour that we invested on a quarantined Monday evening / afternoon in Chicago and evening here.
Monday 47th, 2020.
Yeah. Let's see how long this continues. But yeah, for all people out there, I think the best thing that we can say about this is like people with tinnitus who feel stuck right now, and maybe especially because of COVID, maybe sort of are stuck at home and like pay even more attention to their tinnitus because distraction, work, etc. is missing. Go through with it, full speed ahead, like distract yourself, try and do the things that you still enjoy. And I'm you're more likely to come out of the other side as a stronger person after you find your own way despite tinnitus.
This is boot camp for emotional intelligence. I swear.
Yeah.
So
it is,
just, I hope this helps somebody. I really do.
I'm
Same
100%
way you helped
certain.
me.
I'm 100% certain. Okay, great. Then Martina, I would like to thank you very much for being on here tonight. And if the people have questions around this episode, then I invite all of you guys to message me on my email address or through Instagram. And if you also have questions to Martina, I'll be happy to take them as well and ask Martina and post the answers or something like that. And I think it's just super amazing that you are here for all of us, and that you were sharing your story, because I'm still so happy that there is no better way than the possibilities of the modern days that I just record a podcast here and it can help so many people. It's stunning. It's stunning. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks very much, Martina. Then, I wish you all the best, and it shouldn't be too long until we,
until we can go outside.
All right.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Ciao, ciao. Yeah, so this was the episode with Martina. I hope that you guys found this very helpful, and I think for me it was definitely one of the also nicest episodes to record because it made me go through the process again, and I do remember how much I enjoy coaching people and see them, see all of you make such amazing progress. And it just like, I'm really grateful to get to do this. If you are looking for a coaching session, I am still offering 45 minutes free coaching. Even in Corona times, we can do that all per Zoom, Google Hangouts, Skype, whatever software you'd like to use. Just shoot me an email at frida@outringtinnitus.com or go to my website, outringtinnitus.com/free-coaching-call, and you can sign up for an individual 45 minutes first free coaching session. Then I would like to thank you all for listening very much. Stay tuned because there's another few cool episodes coming on, and hopefully that the next one will already be released in about 10 days. So stay healthy, everyone. Stay inside, protect the people that you're around. And I wish you all and all of your families and loved ones all the best in these crazy times. And I hope that we all get through this, and the world will go back to at least somehow what it used to be. All right. Goodbye. Thank you very much for listening to the Outring Tinnitus podcast. I am looking forward to also welcome you on my website at outringtinnitus.com, or if you have any questions, please mail to frida@outringtinnitus.com. See you next time.